The moment I realized what they had done, I stood frozen in my bedroom, staring at the small velvet ring box that now lay empty in my jewelry drawer. My hand trembled as I picked it up, as if hoping the weight of my wedding ring might still be there, somehow tucked into the shadows. But no. Gone. My ring, my memories, my promises. All gone. They didn't even bother to hide it well. At first I thought maybe I had misplaced it. I tore apart the dresser drawers, the closet shelves, even the laundry hamper. But it wasn't lost. It was stolen. And not by a stranger. No, the betrayal came from within my own blood. My children. My 2 grown kids, Anna and Josh. I raised them with love, with patience, with the kind of sacrifices only a mother would understand. Nights spent working late shifts. Mornings spent packing lunches when I could barely stand from exhaustion. I paid for their education, their first cars, even bailed them out of a few bad decisions. All without question. All with the blind faith that they would never, could never turn on me. But here I was, staring at the gaping void in that jewelry box. A wedding ring I'd worn for over 30 years, gone. And not just any ring. It was the only thing I kept after their father died. We'd had our ups and downs, but that ring symbolized something sacred. And now it had been pawned off. For what? Rent? A new iPhone? Some stupid fleeting thrill? I remember confronting Anna first. Her eyes darted, guilty and evasive. She stammered, said she didn't know anything about it. Josh was worse. He didn't even pretend to feel bad. He had the audacity to say, "It's not like you wear it. Anymore. What's the point of holding on to old things?" The point? The point? That ring was the last piece of a life I had built with their father. The last thing he gave me before the cancer ate him alive. I wore it every day until my fingers grew arthritic, swollen with age and pain. When I finally took it off, it wasn't because I wanted to forget. It was because it hurt too much to keep it on. But I kept it safe. I kept it close. Until they decided it was just another piece of gold to cash in. I wish I could say this was the first time they crossed the line. But this was the final straw. You never expect your children to become strangers. You never expect that. After all the sacrifices, all the unconditional love, they'd see you as nothing more than a bank account on legs. But that's what I had become. A source of money. A fallback plan. I wasn't naive. I knew Anna had her money problems. Too many shopping habits and not enough work ethic. Josh, well, he always had some business idea that needed funding. I had said no more handouts, no more free rides. I had begged them to get their lives in order. But I never imagined they'd resort to stealing from me. And to sell that ring? It wasn't just about the object. It was about the disrespect, the betrayal, the utter disregard for everything I'd done for them. I had been holding on to that ring not just for me, but for them, so they could have a piece of their father when I was gone. Now they'd never touch another dime of mine. Because I made a decision that day, one born from pain, betrayal, and the kind of strength only a mother scorned could muster. I was done playing the fool, done being the ATM. I was going to make sure they never saw a cent of the inheritance they clearly thought was already theirs. They thought they were entitled to everything I had? Fine. Let's see how entitled they feel when I take it all back. I wish I could say it was just the ring. That they slipped up once, felt remorse, and begged for forgiveness. But the truth was uglier. That missing ring was only the surface crack, the fracture that exposed everything rotten underneath. When I started digging, I realized this betrayal went deeper than I dared to imagine. The pawnshop receipt was what gave it away. Crumpled in the kitchen trash, hidden beneath stale coffee grounds and an old pizza box. My name was on it. My name. Anna had apparently forged my ID. I held the slip in my hand, the numbers burned into my memory. $430. That's what 30 years of marriage and memories were worth to them. $430. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I went cold. That sharp, focused kind of cold that only comes when you've been hurt too deeply to even feel it yet. like your body knows it's too dangerous to let the emotions in all at once. I called the pawn shop, of course. The man on the line sounded annoyed, uninterested, but confirmed the transaction. "It's already gone," he said flatly. "Melted. Down with the others." Just like that. My husband's last gift. Gone forever. I thought about the other people who had trusted their kids with everything, only to be left with broken hearts and empty bank accounts. I wasn't going to be one of those stories. I wasn't going to be a cautionary tale whispered about in family dinners. You know what happened to her, right? Her kids took everything. No, I was going to write my own ending, because I had something left that they didn't know about. Something they never thought to ask about, because they were too focused on what they thought I'd already given them. And if they wanted a war over my legacy, they were going to get one. They thought I was weak. That age had made me docile, soft. But what they didn't realize was that age had also made me wise, strategic. I wasn't just going to deny them access to my inheritance. I was going to make sure they never even touched it, and I was going to do it in a way they would never see coming. They wanted to cash in on my life. They were about to find out what it really cost. Here comes the turning point. I waited a few days before doing anything. That's the thing about revenge, real revenge. It isn't loud. It's not screaming or breaking plates or throwing people out of your house in a fury. It's quiet, precise, planned. I didn't tell Anna or Josh that I knew they had sold the ring. I didn't mention the receipt or the call to the pawn shop. I let them think I had forgotten, that maybe I believed I misplaced it. I smiled. I cooked dinner. I let them sit at my table and eat my food, pretend nothing had happened. But every second they sat in that house, I was building the plan. The first step was my will. Originally, I had planned to split everything equally between Anna and Josh. My home, my savings, the modest life insurance policy I still kept after their father passed. But that changed. All of it. I called my lawyer, a woman named Marla I'd known since I first drafted the documents 10 years ago. She always liked to joke that I was the only client who asked more questions than she did. This time, I had a new set of questions. "How airtight can we make this?" I asked her. She raised an eyebrow. "Airtight in what way?" "I want to make sure that if my kids ever contest this will, they'll lose everything. No loopholes, no technicalities, nothing." Marla's eyes narrowed with interest, then sympathy. "Tell me what happened." And I did. I laid it out. Every lie, every manipulation, the theft of the ring, the entitlement, the constant talk of what they'd do once I was gone. I didn't cry. I didn't want pity. I wanted a plan. "I want to leave it all," I said, "but not to them." Her mouth parted slightly. "You want to disinherit both of them?" I nodded slowly. "Every cent." And I did just that. We rewrote the will. I left the house and remaining funds to a women's shelter I'd once volunteered at in my younger years, an organization that helped single mothers get back on their feet. It felt poetic, right? My pain fueling someone else's fresh start. The next step was the trust fund. What my kids didn't know was that after my husband died, I started putting a little money away each year, small deposits, nothing flashy. Over time, it grew into a respectable 6 figures. I never told anyone about it. Not even them. I'd always intended it to be a surprise, a nest egg for their future, something to give them peace once I was gone. But now, that fund was reallocated. Marla helped me move it into a separate trust, locked and inaccessible to Anna and Josh by design. The beneficiary? My granddaughter, Josh's daughter, Lily. The only one who still treated me with love and kindness, even when the rest of her family turned sour. She was only 10, but sharp, gentle, and nothing like her father. If there was anyone I could still trust with a piece of my legacy, it was her. Finally, I drafted a letter. Not for Anna. Not for Josh. For the executor of my estate. In it, I explained everything. Why I had changed the will, the pattern of theft and manipulation, and the final betrayal that sealed their fate. I included copies of the pawn receipt, a log of their prior financial requests, and emails that revealed just how much they took for granted. I told Marla to release it only after my death, not out of cowardice, out of clarity. I wasn't going to let them spin the narrative. I was going to control it. But the final part of the plan? That was the most satisfying. I invited them both to dinner. They sat across from me like nothing had happened. Anna asked if I could help cover her car payment. Josh said he was looking into a new business venture and would need some startup cash. I smiled, pouring them each a glass of wine, and in that moment, I felt something shift inside me. Power. Control. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of disappointing them. I wasn't afraid of their judgment or their sulking or their manipulative guilt trips. Because I knew what they didn't. The game was over. They just hadn't realized they'd already lost. Here we go. The fallout begins. After that dinner, I didn't speak much to Anna or Josh for a while. I let them go back to their routines, borrowing. Money they never paid back, staying out late, leaving dishes piled high in the sink like they had a maid on staff. But I wasn't idle. I documented everything. Emails, texts, voicemails, screenshots of Anna's social media posts bragging about shopping sprees I had unknowingly funded, Venmo transfers with vague descriptions like "thanks, old lady" and "I owe you, LOL." I recorded Josh talking about how the house will be worth double in 5 years, while chuckling that I'd probably kick the bucket by then. Wasn't collecting for revenge. I was collecting for protection. Because people like Anna and Josh, they don't go quietly. When the will is read and they realize they've been cut out, they won't cry and walk away. They'll come with lawyers, with lies, with tears and fake outrage and claims that I was senile or coerced. So I built a fortress of facts. I made copies of everything. Sent backups to Marla, stored others in a secure cloud folder, and gave one flash drive to a trusted friend with instructions. If anything ever happens to me and this gets ugly, open this and hand it to Marla. The next move was the bank. I went in person, made the switch to new accounts, removed any authorized users, changed online banking credentials, and added additional verification layers. I even placed an alert on my credit in case either of them tried to open accounts in my name. Wouldn't have been the first time Josh accidentally used my SSN on a loan application. Then I installed security cameras, quiet ones, not just outside the house, but inside. Living room, hallway, office. Because I knew the day would come when they'd realize the gravy train had come to a screeching halt, and I wanted every second of their reaction recorded. It didn't take long. The fuse was lit when Anna tried to use my credit card and found it declined. She stomped into the living room, holding the card in the air like it was a snake. "Did you cancel this?" "I did," I said simply. Josh chimed in from the kitchen. "Why? We needed that for groceries." "You mean like the $800 shoes you bought last week?" I asked, not raising my voice. Anna went red. "That was a gift, for a friend's wedding." "It's always a gift. It's never your money." They stared at me like I had slapped them both, like they didn't recognize me anymore. Good. That meant the boundaries were finally working. "I've changed some things," I said calmly. "Financially, legally. The will's been updated. The house, not yours. The savings, locked. If you were counting on my death to fund your future, you'll need a new plan." Anna's jaw dropped. "You're disinheriting us?" "No," I said. "You did that yourselves, when you sold the last piece of your father's memory for a few $100. Josh barked a laugh, his defense mechanism. "You're bluffing." I tilted my head. "Try me." That night, they packed a few bags and left, furious, flinging accusations, slamming doors. I didn't stop them. I didn't cry. I sat on the couch with a cup of tea and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for toxic people is to remove yourself from their reach. And sometimes, justice isn't about getting even. It's about taking back your life. I had spent years confusing sacrifice with love, letting guilt control me. thinking that being a good mother meant fixing every mess, cushioning every fall. But motherhood isn't martyrdom, and love without respect is just abuse with a smile. So I stopped. I chose me. And the best part? I still had one more move left, the final nail in the coffin. They thought they could take what was mine and walk away unscathed. But karma was patient, and I was about to give it the perfect stage. Here it is, the final blow and the justice that follows. They were gone from the house, but not from my life. Not yet. A few weeks later, I got the inevitable call. "Mom," Anna's voice trembled. "We just got something from Marla. About the will. What the hell is this?" I didn't answer right away. I let the silence breathe. "You cut us out?" Josh barked in the background, loud enough to rattle my eardrum. "You gave it all to a charity and Lily? Are you insane?" There it was. Not a shred of remorse. Not a single word about the ring, the years of manipulation, the freeloading. Just anger that the ATM had finally closed. "I'm not insane," I said. "I'm awake, and finally done." "You can't do this," Anna snapped. "We're your children." "You stopped being my children the moment you saw me as a checkbook instead of a mother." I hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't answer their 27 follow-up messages, voicemails, and emails. I let Marla handle all communication from that point on. She was delighted to inform them that not only was the will airtight, but if they tried to challenge it, the no contest clause would automatically disqualify them from receiving anything, even personal items. Not a photograph, not a chair, not a damn spoon. They tried. Oh, they tried. They went online, smeared my name, told anyone who would listen that I was losing it, that I had been manipulated by outsiders, that I'd abandoned them. But here's the beautiful thing about truth. It doesn't need to scream to be heard. While they raged, I thrived. I spent my days volunteering again at the shelter. I started mentoring younger women, ones who had been through the ringer, who'd been lied to, cheated on, used, and discarded. I shared my story not as a warning, but as proof. It's never too late to reclaim your life. I took trips. I joined a book club. I smiled without that aching weight behind my eyes. And most of all, I spent time with Lily. Sweet, smart, kind Lily. She would visit me on weekends, help me bake, ask me questions about her grandpa and what we were like when we were young. She had her father's eyes, but none of his entitlement. And when she smiled at me, I saw hope. Redemption. One day when she turns 18, that trust will be hers. But more than the money, I'm giving her something even greater. Values. The kind her father never bothered to absorb. As for Anna and Josh, they eventually stopped trying. Maybe they realized I wasn't bluffing. Maybe they moved on to new targets. I don't know. I don't care. Because this was never about revenge. Not really. It was about justice. About saying enough. About reclaiming my story before they wrote the ending for me. They sold a symbol of my love and life for a few $100. And in doing so, they showed me who they truly were. I gave them everything. And they gave me the greatest gift in return. Clarity. So here I stand. Not bitter. Not broken. Empowered. Because the moment I took back control, the scales tipped. And karma? It didn't come loud or dramatic. It came in the quiet snap of a closing door, the silence of a blocked number, the sound of peace settling into a home that's no longer shared with parasites. They thought they were writing me off, but I wrote the final chapter, and I made damn sure they'd never forget.